Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Ball Over Passion. I'm your man, George V underscore AFC. We got Kurt in the house and Willow back from sabbatical. How you doing, mate? You good?
I'm good, mate. Very well, thank you, boys. How are we all doing?
Good, good. It's glad to have the three musketeers going. And Curran, of course, mate. How you doing? You good?
I'm all good, brother. I'm all good. Just everyone needs to calm and take a breath and let's just go again and then we'll see where we are at the end of the weekend. So
Oh
all good.
no, you know what? Forget all that. Forget all that. We've done that all season. You know what? I'm about to put some stats up on here. We win tomorrow. We guarantee minimum sixth and minimum qualifying for the Europa League. If you were to take a poll of 10 random Arsenal fans at the beginning of the season, I'd say about one or two maybe had a shout of top four. Their best predictions was sixth place for a lot of people. You took a poll of maybe rivals, of 10 rivals. No one had Arsenal top four, and six was the highest you could be. I find it just super ironic with about five games left to play. We win tomorrow. We're going to be in the best position that many people predicted us to be. Not us on the channel necessarily, but most people. Like, what do you guys think of what we're dealing with? Of course, West Ham, we'll get into it. Injuries galore, really doing us a favor. And, Leeds, if you're looking too far ahead, they don't look too great with their injuries that recently happened today as well. It's a little bit of good juju for the lads. Approaching a game that's really important for West Ham with their semifinal midweek. Like, I'll go to Willow first, mate. Like, how are you feeling coming out of maybe that 3-loss difficulty? Because we haven't really talked to you since then, and then kind of the 2 wins on the bounce against big opposition rivals, and then the lead up into West Ham. Like, how are you feeling going into this game?
I don't know. I think I've been quite calm. Like when we lost them 3 games in a row, as much as I was like losing myself in the game, like I was shouting,
Hmm.
I think I wasn't enjoying like what I was watching. After the game, I was calm because I looked at the Tottenham fixtures and you looked at they had like Brighton, Leicester, and Brentford to play. They're hard games. Like Tottenham have got hard fixtures. They've still got Liverpool to play. They've still got a lot of hard fixtures. Man United are Man United. Don't even need to talk about them anymore. They're well in the past. So I think it's just chilled. I think it's a chilled one. I'm not. I must admit, like the West Ham game, I think we'll win, but I'm not looking forward to the game because I think it'll be a park the bus game where it's just going to be a boring breakdown game, and they're just going to try and catch us in transition. So it's going to be a training match. You could probably watch Arsenal's YouTube videos and probably see what we're going to do there.
Yeah, mate, like it is looking peak for them, as they say. I mean, their injuries, I was gonna go to Kern, but we're experiencing some Terminator. Someone quickly get a screenshot. This is beautiful. Unless it's just my screen, but the man went to the red light district really quickly. But oh, are we back? um, but yeah, look, West Ham. So we're looking at their injury list, guys, and it's kind of mad. Kern, are you back? I was gonna go to you. You terminated for a bit.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. But yeah, in terms of what we're looking for with this match is just let's get the 3 points. I don't really care how we do it or what we do. Thank you, Ahmed. Appreciate it. Um, yeah, so the main thing for me is just get the 3 points. I don't care what happens or how it happens. Just get the 3 points and we move on from there. Leeds. Just a quick clarification: Firpo getting 10 yellow cards doesn't mean he's bad. He's missing the game. It's 12 in before those that 2 game ban comes because I've seen some narrative about that. But that's for Leeds. As for this game, we're not sure about how they lined up. Me and the guys were talking about off screen, offline about how do we think we're going to line up, and I'm just thinking, with the way they set up against Chelsea, there's a lot of rotation they did, and a lot of rotation will come back for this game. So for me, I don't know how they line up. We have an idea, but we'll see what happens because it's going to be a bit unpredictable.
Well, I mean, before we get into the lineups, let's set the scenery, and I'll go to both of you guys because let's just have a review, guys, of the table just to see where we're at. And I think for those of you that are just coming in a little bit late, I wanted to repeat kind of that thought where, look, at the beginning of the season, you took kind of a group of 10 rivals, a group of 10 Arsenal fans. How many people had Arsenal top four? Rivals, definitely zero. The highest they had us would be sixth place. Arsenal fans, I'd say 8 out of 10. The highest they would have us is sixth, maybe the odd fifth. But very rare. Only really on this channel was I seeing content creators say top four was a possibility for Arsenal this season. And when you do win tomorrow, it's guaranteed mathematically that the lowest we can finish is sixth, and the lowest European competition we can get is Europa. Like, guys, I think that's a massive news for the summer, something that I don't think a lot of people are actually understanding too. Like, when you start thinking about meeting those metrics at baseline, it's huge for our season. Like, being out of Europe, it had a little bit of a benefit to us in the season, but it's no doubt really difficult going into a transfer window without European football, who you can attract. Like, it is able for you to take bigger steps. And of course, getting to the Champions League means that you can skip even more steps. Like, we know this, duh. Surprise tactical analysis here. But I think it's amazing that when you start looking at the table here, we've got ourselves, in fourth place after all of this, 2 points ahead of Tottenham. In terms of, Manchester United, 5 points, and then, West Ham, 8 points. I think it's pretty much dead and buried if it really was West Ham. But I made a comment a couple videos ago where Arsenal are going to become the Grim Reaper for all of their rivals. They're going through, you beat Manchester United, you beat Chelsea, we're going to beat West Ham. And if you do those things, you basically put yourself up into a stead where you're going to dictate yourselves for top four. And really, you have a case to have the North London Derby be the last match that is of significance for us, because we win the next couple of games, we can be on the beach, which would be really, really nice going in to end the season, and a kind of a really nice story for Amazon. But guys, you have a look even at our goal difference, which I know everybody was really quite worried about, but you start looking at it, 6 goals difference between Tottenham. I'm looking at this game as a way to kind of address that goal difference, if I'm really being honest with you. West Ham riddled with injuries. We'll get into the tactic board really, really soon. What do you guys think that this game, like the challenge that you'll see from a West Ham team that are probably looking at their season, not really in the Premier League, but in the Europa League? Like, we had this last season, right? Like, we know that you have to make a decision about these things, and to be honest, they have 2 games to save their season, right? You win the Europa League, that's huge for West Ham United. Do not discount that. And going into a big Premier League where there's an odd chance. I know mathematically it's possible for them to still get in. Like, I don't think it's quite over 100%, but being 8 points adrift with this many games left, like, what would you do, Willow? You're the coach. You're setting up West Ham. You're Moyes. You've got all these injury issues. You have to weigh the balance of 2 games versus, let's say, 5 to swing an 8-point lead versus guaranteed European. What are you doing as the coach if you're faced with this dilemma?
I don't know. I wouldn't quite count my chickens in this game because I think Moyes does do a great low block. They are very, very well drilled, very, very well drilled, and they're very good on the transition. And I think realistically, like if you want to win this game, you start Bowen, because if you all you have to do is look at the Manchester United game and look at how many chances were created down Nuno Tavares' side, how many times we got caught in transition. It's just lucky it was Elanga going in on goal and not making the chances count. If that's Bowen in them opportunities, we might concede 1 or 2 more goals. So I think you're looking at hope in that game. You're looking that you can keep the players out. You're looking that you look for your leaders in that game. You're going to hope that Mark Noble can come in and play a blinder. You're hoping Declan Rice maybe plays in centre back and there's being able to control the game a bit more, be able to get more possession in the game, be able to be more controlled on the ball in the hard situations, because I think they are going to be defending a lot for their lives. But I mean, they did very well against Chelsea for defending for their lives. They shut Chelsea out for a long time. I mean, we just slapped Chelsea 4-2. So, I mean, maybe that doesn't mean much, but I think, that's what they're going to be looking to do is just sit back, sit a low block and just look to counter us. That I think that's their game plan. And I think, they do have a lot of injuries and I do expect us to win that game. But I mean, if we look at other situations in this season, I remember the Brighton game when we drew 0-0. They had loads of injuries in that game. We still slipped up. This season is a messy season. I think, Curran, you've talked a lot vocally about this. This season is one of them years where you don't know what's really going to happen and everyone can mess up here and there and everywhere. And, we could go and lose to West Ham, but Tottenham could go and lose the next 4 games. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. So it's one of them ones where it's a difficult one. I expect us to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset.
Yeah, I mean, look, Curran, going in, like, there's some questions about some injuries and whether Zuma's fit. I mean, I think, just medically, he's not fit. Like, anybody with a brain that saw him in the last game knows that he's not fit, but he was available. Like, he was available for selection, prior to the game, everyone was saying there's no fit center backs. I mean, Zuma is there, but he isn't fit. That definitely isn't a case. And I think if you watch that game, Dawson suspended, right, guys? They've got Ogbonna injuries. I don't know, moving Rice kind of into the back, which is something they may have to do just to get by. It kills them in two areas of the department. It's kind of like for us when we had the choice: do we move Granit Xhaka from midfield to left back? They're going to be faced with a very similar situation. I'm going to go to you, Carme. Like, what's kind of your solution before we go into like our compromise that we were talking about off screen? Like, are you a fan of moving people from midfield, or would you try to use an academy youngster, create a low block, keep your fundamentals? Like, what kind of mindset are you at if you were faced with these injuries?
I mean, if you just look at it, they don't have any fit center. I wouldn't say Ogbonna is fit. I wouldn't say Zuma is fit.
Ogbona's out.
There, I mean, the
Like,
back,
there's not even a
but
chance.
Ogbonna
I
is
think
exactly
Zuma's just
Ogbonna's out.
the
But the
only
point
one.
I'm trying to make is, I mean, I'm looking at the lineup that we've made together, and there's no centre backs. There's two fullbacks in centre back positions, and then two wide fullbacks. I mean, there it is. So this is what I base this off of what Chelsea did against West Ham. I looked at the West Ham versus Chelsea game and kind of tried to mirror their formation for that, and then see how they do. But the issue is you have no Ogbonna, no Zuma, then you've literally got one centre back, and that centre back is really a midfielder. And even if you go for an academy person or academy bloke, it's very much like, how are you going to be able to be available to set up a low block with an academy youngster for that in that shorter period of time? There's not a lot of time. They played on Thursday. They're going to play again on Sunday. I would go with your senior individuals. I would, if I'm Moyes, I go with Rice or Cresswell long ball if it's Bowen, then Bowen. If it's not, then probably Fornals on the left or Yarmolenko. I just try and hit in transition and try and catch us out with our line. But look, this is what we were saying before the beginning of the season. Europe will catch up. I mean, I remember on the preview, on the predictions for the season, saying, "Look, we have no Europe. Guys at West Ham, they will have Europe, and this is what's the situation is for them now. They have to put their eggs in the Frankfurt basket."
And you know
And
what, Curran,
yeah,
you make a great point about that. But I think even their pedigree within Europe, when you look at that game in Frankfurt, the narrative, I mean, that history of having not been in Europe, it takes a lot out of them. I think it's even less about just pure fitness, but just the mental fatigue about dealing
mm,
with a semifinal and a European semifinal, kind of roped in between. How do you, knowing, are they experienced enough? Is that squad experienced enough to know when to turn it on and when not to, knowing that they have a really important game? We've seen hangovers from ourselves on years gone by where we do kind of give up in the Premier League, knowing that the Europa League is kind of our main chance of getting back in Europe. Do you see a mental lapse, a mental breakdown to, by the way, an Arsenal team that off the back of two very good wins against very good rivals, I'm telling you, it's going to be a difficult case for them to compete. Now, the only things that maybe you could argue is if they are going to be playing a really strong team. Let's say they add Bowen and Antonio up top, but um, for me, I feel as though that they're going to have to be forced into rotation because of their injuries.
mm,
The fact that Agbana and Zuma is really not fit, they're going to force Rice on the back. And when you already are doing stuff like that, you basically injure your team. For me, it would almost make no sense for him to play his top two goal scorers and run the risk of injury or fatigue there, knowing that they've got a really important semifinal where they, by the way, have to score. Frankfurt, they've got to score. Like, that's another thing. They're
yeah,
not protecting a lead. So I feel as though that they don't want to run with Arsenal. That would be suicide from a David Moyes perspective. So he's going to attempt a low block. And for me, I think this is probably the best way when you do have it, right? They do have wing backs that aren't great defensively, but you can have kind of the interior center backs be fullbacks. We've seen this from a lot of teams, by the way. And even Mikel, this was kind of the tactic that he used against Liverpool when we went down to 10 men, right? Drop a fullback kind of in that spot and add somebody to really pressure the wide spaces so that you can really make it difficult to break down. and you kind of hope that Yarmolenko or one of their outlets is going to be important. But you know what, guys? Enough about West Ham.
They don't have the
Because
pace and outlets though. They don't have
they
the
do.
pace and transition in yeah. It's very much a case of you're looking for Fornals. I think Fornals is going to be so key for them because he's I don't really if it is Yarmolenko and it's not Bowen, and I agree with this comment, it's not an easy game because they're very physical in midfield. They have the addition of having the ability to bring on first team players if needed. So you can bring on an Antonio, we can bring on a Bowen against tired legs, like what the situation we were saying against for Pepe earlier in the season. They can do this with their first teamers. They can bring on Antonio, Bowen, someone like this, someone to change the game, and you have to be vigilant in this game. And I'm going to stress that because they have the ability to not only compete with us in midfield, because even though Noble and Suchek, let's be real, aren't going to be the most horrible task we've faced this season, Rice, his ability to step out, his ability to win second balls and duels, will be. He'll be someone who will step out. I don't think he'll sit in a three consistently. I think he'll step out. I think he'll try and do something and try and dictate play like he always does for West Ham. If he does play, he will be their first phase monster. He'll have the ability to get the ball from the first phase and get it up the pitch, either with a carry or a progressive pass or something. So there are still dangers, and we have to be vigilant because this is not an easy game. But I am confident given the situation that we're in at the moment and their situation at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll switch over to Willow really quickly, mate. For us, the big addition, Tomiyasu. I think he's massive. I've been kind of telling people, especially in our build up, his ability to basically allow Tavares high and wide. Look, the very first kind of goal that we've seen with Tavares, by the way, his most chaotic knee slide ever with a chaotic player. But it's a case of him being high and wide and us being able to build with three at the back that we're used to. But Tommy, Art DeRoche, one of my really favorite, journalists kind of on Twitter, said how a really good comment with Mikel about how, his ambipedal nature, the fact that he can receive with his left foot, drive inside, get us out of tight situations, it basically allows us to be higher up the pitch. Odegaard, he also had an interview recently where sometimes he says that he has to drop deep. That's not something that he wants to do. Tomiyasu stops a lot of those things, right? Like he allows those players, along with that 3-2 that we really enjoy and that we've been screaming for, that gives you that platform to really push a lot of these youngsters high up the pitch. And it's resulted in many goals. It's resulted in a high level of efficiency. What do you think Tomiyasu's return kind of does to the narrative of this game, especially one where you expect a West Ham to be in a big block for a majority of the game? I would expect us to be frustrated kind of in the first 20-25 minutes, having to break down a resolute team. And of course, once that opens, I think the barn doors open. But that's kind of the game plan. Like, how do you think Tomiyasu impacts us both defensively with his aerial duel rate, which again is the best in the squad, but also attacking wise? Like, what do you think he brings?
Well, I think Tommy helps stop transition as well. He's a dual monster. So I mean, if they are going to, they can't break down Tommy's side. Let's be honest. Like, if they attack down the right, they're stupid. Really, if they're going to go down the wings, especially. I think Tommy, what he brings though is I think he allows Erdegaard to be a lot more further up, a lot more central, and be in a lot more killer positions. And that's what we need for this game. We need someone like Martin Erdegaard to run this game, run back when the 3-0 from last season when Erdegaard absolutely had it on strings. So that's what I'm hoping this season, that he's going to be in, but a bit more further up, more central in places where he can play that killer pass, look in behind. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I think it's going to be a big game for Eddie Nketiah as well. I'd absolutely love a target man for this game. I think a target man would be beautiful. They don't have centre back, so it'd be fantastic to have someone like that. But I think that these people aren't going to be used to the areas of this pitch as well. These centre backs are going to be a bit worried and not knowing about marking centrally. So I think if you have someone like Martin Erdegaard there, the combination play between him and Saka, being allowing it to be further up the pitch because of Tomiyasu, it's going to hurt them so much more. And I like if it is Masuaku down that side, we're just going to absolutely kill him. Like Tomiyasu, Erdegaard, and Saka as a trio, just passing it round them. They're going to have problems all day, and it's going to be a horrible day for them if that is the case. If Tommy is starting, it is really going to be a horrible day for them.
Yeah, mate. And you know what? I think, look, the story of this game is going to be the space in behind the wing backs and their third center back. Every time there's a three at the back system, just tactically, that's where the space is. And I'll go to Curran really first, mate. When you think back to Brighton, and the troubles that we faced with Brighton that game, how we were screaming for an Eddie Nketiah, a Martinelli, a mover striker. And the big reason was when you pack the middle, like what happens in a three at the back, right? We were saying that just making that banana peel run in between the two center backs, drawing people out, you're going to draw on Mark Noble, who doesn't have the best legs. And you can't really do that if you've got a static striker like a Lacazette who likes to drop deep in the middle. It's already compact down there. So for me, I think it's going to be really important for Eddie. I agree with Willow. He's going to have a really good game, kind of trying to pull out Mark Noble or kind of the wide three center back on the ball side away. What do you anticipate as the best mode of attack? I mean, I think we kind of touched on it, but that kind of third center back and wing back space where we're going to have, ESR and Saka between the lines. I think it's going to be crucial that we do quick switches and we have them 1v1 because you do that. We've seen what Saka ESR can do running behind. What do you think is the best method of chance creation? And let's not forget also set pieces, guys. Without their center backs, that is a way to hurt this team. What do you think is going to be the best goal of chance creation and scoring?
So similar to the Man United game, I'm gonna say again, it's this ball here from Xhaka to Saka. I really do feel like that's the best way to get to that we've managed to create chances this season. If you look at the United game, and even with this game, if you've got that channel between the wide centre back and the fullback, there's space there. There's always going to be space there because, especially with Cresswell, who's not played in a three, he's not Kyle Walker, guys. He's Aaron Cresswell. You're going to have the ability to basically make this run, and then basically third men, basically flooding the box, either Tavares from this side, Emil, and Katia, or even if you want Martinelli here. These are the main basically, like these are the main resources we have in creating chances, and these cutbacks, i.e. either Saka taking it on and hitting one into the net, or Saka basically creating for third man runners into the box. That's been our bread and butter this season. So for me, I think this switch here from Xhaka to Saka is definitely on. If not that way, then I think if we play back to front, i.e. if we go so for example, say we have Gabriel to Xhaka and then Erdegaard in this space kind of here, and then you play it into Saka. So this kind of pattern of play that we tend to go for as well, which we saw against Man United as well. I think that it's very much on to the main men in our midfield, so i.e. Xhaka and El Neni, to really create some verticality in their passing, to really push the tempo, because if we keep pushing them and we push them further back, they will crumble. They're not used to playing a three at the back. I just think that we can't be doing a U-shaped passing methodology where we're going from side to side, trying to break it down. We have to play with verticality, pace, tempo, aplomb. Just make sure that we're playing at an appropriate pace and not trying to revert back to sort of, okay, you take it, then I'll take it, then I'll take it, then you take it, then that take it.
And I
we
think
try
a
and
big part of
make a
that is
cross into the box.
Tomiyasu getting back
Yeah.
into the team, which it adds another dimension. And I think actually I would switch El Neni and Odegaard in this pattern of play that you're having because I think that's what Tomiyasu gives you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
security
No, yeah.
on the ball is actually the switch that you're looking at. Now, the only worry, which is a worry, is lineup wise, Suchek against Odegaard. That is something that he traditionally does struggle with, in midfield. A midfield presence, he does struggle with that. And especially away. That's another thing. This is going to be away. So that is a battle that, hasn't always been fruitful. But I think Saka against Cresswell and Masuaku, that's clear. But for me, I'm really looking at that Mark Noble, Granit Xhaka midfield battle because I think that's what we're going to rinse. Granit is in great form, player of the month, off the back
Well
of a goal
deserved.
from Manchester United, off the back of just riding high. I think we really need to play into that. Football is at this point of the season a little bit of the hot hand technique, I like to call it, where you play your players in form. Emil, Saka, they are our biggest goal threats. So for me, I can understand the idea of a Martinelli, but I prefer a goal threat on the bench. I would prefer Emil. Emil has scored. The boys in confidence. Keep those guys on the pitch. And they're the academy lads. They have a good connection together. They know where they're going to be. If we can
The
be
only
solid
thing I'm going to point out
defensively,
just quickly, George. The only thing I want to point out this question quickly, George, is this triangle here. These three, Xhaka, ESR, and Tavares, I think will be much more available as well, because I think with basically either side, either way, either channel down the side of the wide centre back is going to be key. But I think in terms of this will be more of an outlet ball, whereas this might be more some combination play and working it through the lines eventually, and maybe Tavares either makes a run or a cross or something. But this,
that's where
I
I
think
think
this,
is going to
yeah,
be the most joy because
yeah,
it's got the biggest chink in the armor in midfield at least. And ultimately, if we move the ball at pace and we kind of break the deadlock, so to speak, we break this low block, I think the barn doors are going to really open. And we just got to be patient, not rush things, have a good tempo, play to the basics, and things will happen. I think we've shown in the reverse fixture that we've been able to really rinse that ball between the fullback and the center back, which is West Ham's biggest weakness. So um, I think this is a game that, while of course there's a level of not underestimating any team, I get that, but at the same token, this is something that we've done really well this season at. So it's a good time to
yep.
face them. Maybe it's time to get into kind of those predictions.
Just
Willem,
want to
I'll
say,
go for you.
I was just going to say one thing before as well. I just want to go back to simplicity as well. I think we've talked about West Ham owning all the centre backs out. Another thing Tomiyasu brings is you go from a 5'7" Cedric to a 6'2"
Yeah.
Tomiyasu. I think corners are going to be massive. Set pieces are going to be massive this game.
Yeah.
They don't have defenders. I'm personally, this is going to lovely steamroll into my prediction. I'm predicting us to win 2-0. And I predict Tomiyasu to score a goal. I think he scores from a corner. I think, that 6'2" presence is brilliant at head, and he's got, as Ramsdale likes to say, his big meat head. I think he'll get his meat head onto the ball, and I think he'll header it in the back of the net. So I think 2-0. I think Tomiyasu, and I think probably one of them plays down the side. I think Nuno Tavares probably gets in and puts it into Eddie Nketiah for another goal. So yeah, 2-0 to the boys. Unless they play Bowen, then it could be troublesome. I'll go 2-1, but I think 2-0.
Awesome, awesome. And Curran, mate, how about you? Last minute thoughts and kind of your predictions.
I mean, last minute thoughts is I'm just ready for this game. I need this game done. Think the one thing we haven't mentioned is Spurs go on before us a lot of the games now. I don't think there's a game. I don't think maybe there's one or two games that we have ahead of them, but I know they're ahead of us this week against Leicester, next week against Liverpool. They're at the early kickoff, and then obviously we play them, and then Burnley. I think they're ahead of us as well. So they play a lot ahead of us. So we just need to really blur out the noise, just focus in. People stay off Twitter, just read a book or something. Just relax. Things will happen when they happen, and for me, I do think. I'm always someone who tries to avoid these. I hate predictions. I feel like they gnaw on my brain when we're in the thing, but when we're in the game, I remember we were talking in the group chat about during the Man United game, and CK was like, "Well, we've conceded now, so the only people that can get points are me and Willow, and me and George were like." When the third goal went in, we were both like, "Yes, come on!" There's no points for anyone else. But for me, 3-1 for me. I think I've stolen George's prediction. I've gone for the little 3-1 there. Not just because just to steal it, but I do think that there is an ability just to lapse late. I think we get one in the first half and maybe a second, and then they score one, and then we get a third. I think that's the way it goes. I just think we'll have one lapse. I think it's just somewhere. I think maybe a Tavares error or something. I don't know, but I think there will be a lapse. I don't think we keep a clean sheet, but there is a win. I think that's the major thing. I think that we win this game quite
A
comfortably.
win, the major thing. Both boys are
Yeah.
going for a win, and I am a lot more confident than the boys. I think this is going to be a routine game. Willow, your first instinct at the beginning of the pod, a training ground routine. That really is what I see. And I don't think the West Ham, they've got threats, but their mind is going to be elsewhere. I really think that they're unable to deal with kind of the pressure of Europe in that semifinal and that really hanging over the back of their head. I think they go in late to challenges. I think they pull back a bit. I don't think they're aggressive. One of the biggest things about West Ham is quick, pacey outlet balls. Antonio and running off him into space. That's what West Ham have been fruitful for this season. And of course, Declan Rice in the middle of the park being able to get them up the pitch. They really don't have anybody else that's able to really get them high and quickly up the pitch. And I don't know if Lanzini plays as well. That's another one that I think is somebody that they could bring on to change a game. But really, I see 2 quick goals in the first half and then a late consolation. I'm going 3-0. I think I'm with Willow though on set pieces. I'm just going to change it up with Gabriel. He's just a monster from set pieces. But I think defensively, I'm with you, mate. Tomiyasu is going to be hugely important in stopping those transitions in what they're attempting to do. But I think Gabriel scores. And of course, Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe. I think I'm always going to go with them. They're having their best seasons ever. And they're also, guys, the first U21 pair to score 10 Premier League goals since Ronaldo and Rooney. This isn't just youngsters performing the best individually, by the way. This is the best in Premier League history. They're up there with some top names. And so I really think at the end of the season, or maybe even in a couple weeks, I want us to do a special feature because I've heard a lot of concern from fans, and I get it, but there was a lot of narrative that the youngsters may not be able to consistently get us to top 4, when in fact they're overachieving, and the fact that they can do that makes us just a very special crop of youngsters. I think we as fans really underestimate the impact of growth during a season. Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, both of which have had their best goal and assist tallies in their entire career, not season, entire career. Saka has had his most productive season ever. Like the growth and steps that you're seeing are massive. And I'm really excited for this game, guys. Yeah, I think 3-0, really nice, easy win. And I think West Ham's minds will be on Frankfurt. So does anybody remember Chris's so we can get it out there in terms of his prediction as well?
I will check right now.
But maybe, guys, just really quickly, I'll go to Willow. Maybe you can answer this, mate. We'll definitely be doing, by the way, transfer pods. Don't worry, everybody. Once we have a better idea of exactly where we're at, we will definitely be doing a breakdown, target-wise, what each of us wants to see, positions, you name it. But really quickly, Willow, mate, what do you make of depth in terms of the quest for European football? Like, what are you anticipating we might need body-wise?
What is this next season?
Yeah. I assume so.
I mean, we've got Saliba coming back, which is massive as it is. I think that cuts out us needing a centre back. I know you boys are Norton Cuffy. But maybe we go for a right back still. I'm not sure. I think he probably goes out on loan again. So I think we need a couple midfielders. It depends if Xhaka goes. This is the thing. It's so up in the air. I think if Xhaka goes, then we need a few midfielders. And there's a lot of quality on the market this summer, by the way, I want to add, who are on a year left. If you want value for money for depth signings, this is the season to do it. You've got so much. Basuma on 1 year left. Owl on 1 year left. Fabian at 1 year left. There's so many good players that would probably cost you 40+ million that you can probably get for 20 million this summer. So there's a lot there. And then obviously attackers. We need strikers in. I think we need wingers or forwards in. We're linked with people like Gakpo, Gabriel Jesus, and then you've got like the Calvert-Lewins and all of that. There's all of them. And then obviously the marquee signings that Edu's talked about. So I think it's a busy summer. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for this summer. This is probably going to be our favourite summer as an Arsenal fan in quite some time.
Absolutely. And Curran, mate, were you able to sort out that Chris prediction?
He hasn't posted it, so we'll put it on the Twitter when he does. But I'll just quickly I'll just back up Willow. Mikel said that he wanted 22 outfield players and 3 goalkeepers, if I'm not mistaken. At the moment, we have 18 without the extensions. So it will be a combination, I feel, of people coming back from loan, signings, and maybe some youth call-ups. So 22 players for me means so Saliba coming back would be 1. I think Norton Cuffy does come back, so that's 2, so that's 20, and maybe two signings and then Turner as well. So I think maybe 3 signings, 4 signings, somewhere along that line. to just outfield players, obviously, because obviously it'll be Ramsdale, Okonkwo, and Turner as the three non
I mean,
outfield players, the
we've got people
goalkeepers.
leaving as
So
well. We've got Eddie Nketiah leaving.
Last
yeah,
LJ.
year.
that's what I'm saying. 18 without the people leaving on free agency, in
Oh,
free
okay.
agents.
Mm.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So that's the case for me. I think maybe 3 or 4 signings would would be the move. I don't think we're going for like 6 like the last season.
No, and look again, really quickly. Like Edu and Mikel Arteta have been telling the team this for a while, guys. Like the narrative is we are going to go big with a very clear plan of 1 to 2 major marquee signings. Of course, we'll be looking for some depth, but I really think that you're looking at a 3 or 4 somewhere, 4 max, and 4 would be kind of extenuating if we really could. I think we need more, but really, I think the focus is having an analogous Liverpool window with Virgil van Dijk and Allison, where we really look to take the next step. With Champions League football, I feel as though that we really focus on completing the starting 11 this summer. This is something that is at least in my mindset. And then, of course, the following year, I really look to complete the depth. And then you basically have a squad that's ready to challenge for trophies. But I have a feeling, a sneaky suspicion, we do kind of 2 major signings at center mid and striker, and then we have like a versatile forward depth signing. I would love that to be a wide playmaker, a War, cough. But, Gabriel Jesus is an excellent option. A little bit more attacking depth across the front line than maybe an Awar. But I think that third signing is a depth. And if we can extend ourselves for a fourth, then excellent. I just don't know if we've got that capability or the capacity, as the youngins like to say. So maybe really, really quickly, we really appreciate the super chat, Hardy. Do you guys prefer playing before or after Spurs? Kern, you brought it up, so I'll go to you first, mate. Do you prefer have a
I
preference?
mean,
Really?
preference. I prefer to get things out the way. I mean, if it's me, I prefer just to get the points on the board and then watch them crumble because the pressure, Spursy, etc. But for look, I think Mikel, the whole point of this whole rebuild is the culture of the unity and all these kinds of principles that his non-negotiables that he has. I think he'll have them um fairly closed off and just focused on what the game in hand. As a fan, I want to play first. I want the points on the board. But I think as from an Arteta or an Arsenal point of view, I just don't think they care. But yeah,
I don't know. I think at this stage of the season, if I had more time left, I might want to play first because I'm personally a person where I like to finish my own business. And then I don't like this team basically looking behind them. I like them looking up. So if I had more time, but at this stage of the season, I just see it as a final. So I personally really don't care before or after.
Hmm.
I think there's pressure both sides. Like there's that idea of if you play first, you know, if you lose, you basically set yourself up for somebody to gain points on you. And the team that's playing after you has got the pressure. And I think there's both ways to look at it, but ultimately it's just a final for me in the last 4 or 5 games. But Willow, mate, how about you? Do you have a preference before or after? And maybe not just Spurs, but like if you're competing for rivals generally, would you have a preference
Yeah,
before or after?
definitely before. I hate playing on a Sunday or a Monday. Like
Mm,
when I played Palace on a Monday, I
yeah.
hated that so much. I'll wait for an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's horrible. I prefer getting out of the way. I like a 12:30 Saturday kickoff and just get it out of the way, get it done. And when we win, it's a beautiful weekend as well. I guess that's the other side of it is if you do lose and you play on like a Sunday or a Monday, at least the weekend's out of the way, so it doesn't annoy you too much. But I like getting out of the way, especially when you are against people like Spurs, because if you do win, they do just crumble, and even if we do lose, they still crumble. Like I think when Spurs are a team that love to, they're a bunch of beta males. They like to watch what other males are doing, so they're always watching, and I think that makes them slip up.
Absolutely. And I love this comment because you guys all know me. Focus on your own lawn. Make sure that you have consistency in your own performances and then you don't have to look at anybody. So that's kind of why I don't really view, win loss before after too much. But yeah, guys, look, we're gonna wrap it up. It's gonna be an exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, we win. We finish higher than most people had us predicted for. Period at the beginning of the season. So let's just take it game by game. Let's take it for a win, hopefully 3-0. But guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. Everybody in the comments, we appreciate the super chats when you guys do. Really, we do. It helps the channel a lot, and I know all the guys really appreciate it. But make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. You hit that bell for notifications to know that when we do upload. If you do want to become a member, we'd love it. You click the little join button that's beside the subscribe to do so. But thank you so much for everybody. We'll hopefully catch you guys when Arsenal win 3-0. So see you guys on the review for next week. Bye now.